So today we have Abhay Nadkarni. He's a software engineer and a content creator. He posts recommendations related to books and movies, and that's what we are going to hear from him today. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
Introduce yourself.
I think you did a great job, but yeah, I'll go ahead as well. So yeah, I am a software engineer. That's what professionally I do. I do it because I love technology, tech and problem solving. Content creation is something that I've always wanted to do because I love books and movies. And I thought, what better way than content creation to share whatever I have with the world. So yeah.
So how did that start?
The content creation?
Yeah.
So I have always wanted to be a writer. So I have been writing articles, poetries, reviews. So I used to do that as a child, write some story. And I've always been fascinated with books and movies. So there was always this idea that I want to share my ideas and thoughts through my writing with the world. So I started off with publishing articles here and there on some website or some magazines. Then I thought of starting out with a blog.
Mm-hmm.
Then somehow I wasn't very consistent with that. Later I found that Instagram and video content is doing really well. So I thought of taking that up as a platform to reach more people. And yeah, eventually that shaped up to creating videos and recommendations, sharing my ideas about books and movies, creating video essays. So that's how it gradually shaped up.
So was it just books and movies, or did you write articles, your own articles as well?
So earlier I used to write about not write about books and movies.
Okay.
So I used to write stories, short stories, or fiction, or maybe review stuff, or write something that I'm doing in my daily life. Books and movies came up at a very later stage, where I wanted to talk about things that I love. So books and movies came out because I wanted to talk about them. But earlier I used to not write about books and movies specifically.
So how did the transition from software engineering to content creation occur?
It's not exactly a transition, like I still do both of them and I like doing both of them. So software engineering somewhere challenges my rational brain. So it makes me think of problems, how to solve them in a very rational way, and keeps my logical side of brain ticking and always at pace. And content creation is more of, makes me think creatively, gets those creative juices flowing, and like keeps my creative side alive and thriving.
So you can
and I
do
like
both
doing it.
smoothly now.
So it's like I keep both sides of my brain active with content creation and tech.
How did the reading books start?
Okay, so it's a very interesting story. So as a kid, I was watching a Harry Potter film, and while watching, someone told me that there are books, like it is adapted from a book, and I got a little interested. So I thought of reading Harry Potter. I read one book and I enjoyed it absolutely. Then I started reading Hardy Boys, Famous Five, Secret Seven. Like one of my friend used to gift me these books on every birthday. So I started reading these amateur detective books. Then it caught my fancy.
Okay.
So these suspense thrillers, like what happens in the end. So I was always curious to find out what happens in the end. So I almost read all the Famous Five books, Secret Seven books, Hardy Boys, Nancy Drew. Then someone told me about Sherlock Holmes. So I've read all Sherlock Holmes books.
Okay.
Then I graduated to Hercule Poirot. So I read almost all Agatha Christie books. So that's how the idea of reading took shape in my head. So it was basically always about finding out what happens in the end. Then I started reading other kinds of books like Jeffrey Archer, then Dan Brown. Then I discovered some Indian authors. So yeah, that's how the reading
So
journey
is it
shaped up.
just fiction and murder mysteries, or do you go into the non-fiction as well?
So earlier it was just fiction and reading detective stories. Then I started reading adventure novels. I read Harry Potter. Then I started reading non-fiction books as well. So I read Atomic Habits, then The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari, couple of other books here and there. So 0 to 1. So these books also I started reading, non-fiction books. And yeah, I don't prefer one over the other. Like I love reading detective fiction, but I also read whatever is
What do you have to
interesting.
say about that typical saying that non-fiction books are more helpful to you and fictional books are not that great? Whoever reads fictional books are not that smart enough or their etc. So that controversial topic. What do you have to say about that?
No,
Because
I don't agree with it. See, people do watch movies, right, for entertainment. You will watch a television show, you will watch something. And entertainment per se is not bad. Like you can't be productive 24/7. So reading for entertainment or getting entertained or just enjoyment is not a bad thing. You always don't have to learn from what you read. So I disagree there. I feel everybody should read fiction and should read without thinking what others will think of them. If you enjoy reading something, go for it. I don't categorize a particular book as good or bad. Of course, there are other metrics to gauge the quality of a book, but I don't diss any genre because it's not quote unquote productive. So I think, yeah, people should read fiction and it does provide a lot of value.
like
See, you firstly look at the world from someone else's perspective. Like you look at, like let's say we live in India. You don't know what people in the US do, what people in the UK do, what are they thinking. So when you read fiction, especially from different kinds of people, you get idea about what they are thinking, what their culture is, what their set of ideas are. Because movies, of course, you do get exposed to culture and everything there as well, but books provide you with a certain depth. You get to look at the world from someone else's perspective. You get to understand how different people think. Because whatever the story is, it's written by someone about someone. So there are people involved. So you get an insight into how different people are thinking, what their mindsets are, what kind of motivations different people have. So it's very interesting as an exercise to learn about humanity, people, their stories through fiction.
So what do you have to say about for example, Harry Potter? There are movies as well. So why not watch the movies?
Sure, you can watch the movie, and very honestly, I do love the Harry Potter series, but I feel that a movie is more plot oriented. So the purpose of a movie is to drive the story ahead. Of course, there are examples where movies do character development really well, but in a book, an author gets time to really flesh out the extra details, that sometimes the nuances that a movie might not have. Like if you read Harry Potter, you will actually understand what motivations certain characters had.
So it gives more meaning and more depth to
More layers, basically. More layers to the story, more layers to the characters. There are additional nuances. Also in a movie, like let's say we are talking here.
Yeah.
The movie would include our conversation here, not what we are thinking.
What we're thinking.
Like you don't know what I'm thinking, I don't know what you're thinking. But in a book, that can be fleshed out, that can be described. So it's like, imagine it this way, it's like your favorite dish but more rich, like richer.
Right.
Richer in terms of the ingredients.
Right.
Because you have more access or more information
Enhanced taste.
about your characters. So that's why I feel that if you read Harry Potter, you will have greater understanding of that world. And of course, world building can be done in a much more elaborative way. in a book.
So that gives you a creative touch as well.
Yeah, creative touch, and you feel closer to those characters, to the world. You find you're into that world and you know a lot more about
And it
that
gives
world.
you, I feel it gives you a much more, imaginative perspective where you
Exactly.
the movie might have shown something else and you imagine something else.
Exactly, correct. So, in a movie, a lot of details are fed to you, like how the character looks, how he'll talk, how he'll walk,
So you remember that character.
how a house would look like, how
Right.
the world would look like, what kind of light there will be. But in a book, all this is written, but you are still free to imagine
Right.
it. You can imagine
So
it.
you have to
as
connect
anything.
the dots.
Exactly. You have to connect the dots. You have to imagine. So there is lot more variety. Like in a book, 10 people can imagine the world in 10 different ways. So that gives more imaginative and creative outputs. Like 10 people will have 10 different interpretations of the same written word. But in a movie, the interpretation is kind of set for you, and the world is already
Ready.
built for you.
Yeah.
And you just need to
Watch it.
you just
As a
need to
third
consume
person,
it, yeah,
right.
and get that idea. Then you can probably think and discuss and interpret the material in your own way. But here there is more room to interpret, is what I feel.
Okay. So why read books? Like, how does it change your mentality?
Why read books? Books are very entertaining. Like if you start reading and if you stop thinking that I want to gain something out of it and do it just because you want to enjoy, I think you'll love it. It's like you watch movies for entertainment. You can read the book for entertainment. Some of the books have great entertainment value. In fact, you would have heard the quote that the book is better than the movie,
Yeah.
which is true in most of the cases. So they provide great entertainment value. B, of course, there are lot more books than movies. So the literary world is filled with lot of different books.
And different perspectives rather.
Books, perspectives, different stories, because books have been available for a much longer time than movies have been.
Definitely.
In fact, I would say that you have lot many options to choose from when you read books. Also, it gives you different perspectives, like I earlier mentioned. Like you get to know about different people, whether they are real people or just
Fictional
created
characters,
characters. But you get insight into people. Like you understand psychology. Like not the textbook, or you won't get an academic perspective, but at least you understand how people think. You understand people a lot more intimately when you read a book. Like you are much more intimate with that character because you know a lot about his life, his motivations, his actions, etc. There is a lot of knowledge also to gain from. Like there are books on almost every topic, whether it's engineering, history, law, medicine. You can pick up anything and you can learn a lot. That is,
I mean, even a person from another field, I can still read medical books, the basic books, and I can understand the basic. It might be tough for me, but I can at least understand the basics.
yeah, if you have the motivation and you have the interest, you can obviously pick up a book and learn from it. Like a lot of non-fiction book is about improvement, self-improvement.
Yeah.
That's also something that people should do, like read non-fiction as well. I'm not saying that only read fiction or only read non-fiction, but I feel that fiction at times gets sidelined because people think it's just for entertainment or time pass. So that's one thing that I disagree with. But otherwise, books are absolutely fundamental to drive humanity, is what I feel. Because reading does give you a lot more. And also what I feel is the way content is evolving, it's much more imperative to read.
Right. I was coming to that actually. So you talked about why you should read books. But right now, as you said, the content creation area is changing a lot. Earlier it was books, it came to movies, now it's short form content. So not everybody can read an entire book. So what do you think about that aspect of attention span?
That's very concerning, I would say, because I'm seeing people not able to focus on a 20-second video or a 30-second video. So what kind of evolution is this? Like, we say content is evolving, but what kind of evolution is this where people can't look and focus on something for 20 to 30 seconds?
Yeah.
Like, are we competing with goldfishes in terms of attention span? So what I feel is, sure, there are videos that teach you stuff. There are material, some slides, decks or whatever, the way you can learn from. But I feel that a book provides you with lot more depth. Like, you just don't scratch the surface. And if you truly want to become an expert, or you want to gain expertise on a subject, or you want to truly understand, say you want to become the best in your field, to progress in your career, eventually you'll have to pick up a book, because no amount of videos or short explanatory videos, like the shorts, YouTube shorts, I don't think they'll help you. So if you want to truly excel in your career, in your life, eventually you will run out of good material in videos and short form content. You'll have to go to a book to gain nuance, understand things in a much better way.
So how do you think people can get to that? I mean, in fact, when you mentioned you use these short form contents to hook them to the longer picture, the bigger picture.
Correct.
So do you think that is a way everybody looks at it?
I think so, yeah. So what
How does that work, the short form content, in terms of, because everybody is doing short form content now, and as you said, the attention span is going down and down. So how is the balance going?
Okay, so what I feel is short form content is good. Okay, don't get me wrong there. But I feel that if you just watch something, if you just watch short form content, then it's bad for you. Like, overindulgence is bad.
Okay.
So what I try to do is, I try to tell people that watch my short form content and then probably read something.
So it's like a trailer.
Exactly. It's like a teaser. Then comes the trailer. So in my videos, I try to tell them, read this book or watch a film, because watching a movie is also becoming difficult for a lot of people. We can't watch a film without scrolling our phone every 10-15.
Yeah. During movies, people don't, just sit and watch the movie. It's more about scrolling. I mean, I've seen people using their phones even during the pictures on. That is very, I don't know how that works.
I mean, it's so that's the thing, right? You can't focus. Even though you're hooked, you still want to take a breather and focus on something else for a bit before you can again focus on the movie. So that is alarming, because if people can't focus on something that they are doing, then how will you get done with your work, or how will you make progress? Because to make progress, you need to do focused work.
I mean, if you can't sit for 10 seconds,
yeah, exactly,
you can't work for that much time.
So that's the thing. So I make short form content because I want people to watch it and then watch the things that I'm recommending, or read the things that I'm recommending.
It's like a hook that you use.
Exactly. To just get them, like, catch their attention, and then try to tell them something that might benefit them or that might entertain them. So that's the reason I make short form content.
And we talked about Nikhil Kamat's podcast.
Exactly.
So when you told me you got to know about that podcast through short form,
yes.
and you watched the entire video.
Exactly.
That's exactly what I did. I didn't watch any podcasts before. I didn't know they existed. And then I went through reels and shorts. Then I got to know, and then I went and watched the entire 2 or 3 hour video.
Exactly. That's what even I'm trying to do. Because once you find something useful, or see, a short is a great way of spreading the message. Like
an advertisement.
Exactly. It's like an advertisement to make people watch something which is longer and more fleshed out and more informative.
Right.
So it's like if you put a very interesting clip, people would be curious to know more. Like if you put a very interesting bit from a podcast as a short, people will go and watch that whole podcast because now they are interested in knowing what these set of people are talking about. So I feel short form content is good that way, but the way people are abusing it or over indulging in it, like what just scrolling through them mindlessly is what's not good, I feel.
So now let's come to movies. How have movies helped you?
So
Because movies is something people, books also people recommend. Movies is something people think about, they'll go for a movie only if they want a break or some time pass. So do you think that thought is correct?
see, this is an interesting question because I feel that movies play a much bigger role than just entertainment. Like we think that it's just entertainment, but in reality it's not. Movies in a way shape the society.
Right.
Like they shape what pop culture is. So even if you think that you are going there for entertainment, you're truly not. Because movies drive a society. And they in a way shape what kind of content people want to consume and what they are consuming. So just to give you an example, I remember that when Ghajini ad came out, 2008, a lot of kids and a lot of people wanted to get their heads shaved to get that look.
That is happening with Andrew Tate now.
So the movie was made for entertainment, but people got so hooked by that character's look that they wanted to emulate it.
Right.
So the movies influence the society a lot, even though we think that it's just for entertainment. So I feel it's a very powerful medium.
And if you see even the stupidest kind of movies, at the end with a message. There is always a conclusion, it's either some emotional or family or business related quote kind of thing, where they end it in a very nice and beautiful way. Exactly. They convey a message.
So movies are a great way of distributing an idea. So it's like if you want to deliver a message to the society, or you feel like you have an idea that might create an impact in the society, you make a movie out of it. So of course I feel that there should be a balance, because the primary responsibility a filmmaker has is with the story.
Right.
But if you can add something, give a positive message and entertain the audience, keep them engaged and make them forget about their worries for 2-3 hours, then I feel it's a good thing.
Right. So there are movies that influence the wrong kind of culture as well, or at least people take it in the wrong way. So
the onus lies with the filmmaker, because if you're showing a problematic character or something that's not a very responsible way of influencing the society, then make sure that the audience also understands that this character is not someone you should aspire to be. Even if it's very flamboyant or flashy or sexy, like you feel very driven towards that character, there should be some element or something in the story that
shows you it's not the right side.
It's not exactly how you should be or what you should aspire to be.
Because coming back to the same point, I have multiple friends who watch these, read these romantic books or business books, fictional business books, and they sell fake dreams in a way, or at least people take it in a way that sell fake dreams, and then all their expectations change into that particular fantasy, and then they can't see the reality of anything. For example, now I'm talking to you. Maybe in a book, a podcast might be written in a different way, and how it occurs might be in a different way. Or you can just see the picture in front of the cameras. Maybe behind the camera, you can't see in books. So people don't get to know about the real picture. That is one thing I have against fiction. Even real books do this in some way, but more in fiction is what I've seen.
It's good to be aspirational and good to be a little optimistic,
because that affects people's relationship with each other as well as every other aspect of their life, because their expectations rise to another level. It's like a actual fantasy dream.
Yeah, I mean, it's an industry now where people sell fantasy, where a lot of motivational speakers try to sell you dreams, try to make you believe that it's everything is possible. And I mean, there are people who take it very seriously, but for them, I would say that you need to remember it's just a movie or it's just a story.
Right.
It's a filmmaker's imagination, a figment of his imagination. You can't take it as true, like it on its face value. It's not the absolute truth. You need to remember that it's just a story. Like, read it, get motivated,
Maybe
get back-
pick up a few things.
pick up a few good things that you learned and move on with your life. Don't get too attached to the idea or that story, or don't take it too seriously. I'm more concerned about the people who sell motivational
fantasies, yeah.
because that is real, and people don't have this leeway of taking it as a story. I am more concerned about that.
So what do you have to say about that? Because I know you have a different thought about self-help content.
See, what I believe is everyone should do what works for them, B, what they enjoy doing. So, for example, let's say you love working 100 hours every week. It's fine. It's great that you are doing that, because I feel discomfort is necessary to make progress. You can't
Absolutely,
live
yeah.
in a comfort zone and hope that you will make tremendous progress. Discomfort is necessary. I agree. So you should do things that are challenging, difficult, and keep progressing. I don't like people who impose their ideas as dogma to other people. Like, let's say, as I was saying, let's say you like working 100 hours every week. You enjoy doing that. So good for you. Keep doing that. But I don't like people who shove this idea in everyone else's throat that if you don't work 100 hours every week,
You're a
you're a
waste.
failure, or you're a waste, and you won't do anything in life and you won't amount to anything.
Right.
That's where I draw the line. I mean, everybody should do what works for them, what their aspirations are, they should try to fulfill. And it's not good to shame others for doing something that's working for them.
I mean, it's not something that everybody can be an entrepreneur or a
Exactly.
CEO. Not everybody wants to be an entrepreneur. or a
Exactly,
CEO.
exactly. See, everybody can't be a CEO, because CEO, there is only one position. And if everyone is a CEO, then there is no CEO.
Right.
So, there are certain advantages a few people have. Like, their predisposition makes them more favorable to become leaders, achievers, excel. Some people do it with hard work. There is no fixed formula, and not everyone wants that. So I feel everybody should do what they enjoy doing and try to get or gain what they want to gain.
And in fact, I think these influencers that post this kind of content, ki you should work hard, motivation, all this, it's just to get them hooked to their course, and they earn from that. And the viewers are just sitting there doing the course, paying them money, and
See, no culture or no idea is bad per se. Like, in and itself, no idea is bad.
right.
Like, if the idea of hustle culture is not bad, or the idea of motivation is not bad.
The people selling it and the people are buying.
Exactly, the way it's
Interpreted.
the way it's marketed, the way it's shaped, and the way it's presented is what makes it either good or bad. If someone is advocating hustle culture, not trying to shove it down someone else's throat, just telling their own personal experience,
Right.
what they gained from it, or presenting it in a way where they talk about it and let the other person decide whether he wants to be a part of it or not be a part of it, is a healthy way of sharing content. If I just tell you that only this works, if I just tell you that, close your eyes or put those blinds and just look at life in one way and everything else is bad, then I feel that you are doing disservice to the society.
And the most important thing is, if you close the doors for every other thing, then there's no way you can be a world leader or anything.
Exactly.
Because those people know about everything, and they expand and they broaden their vision, instead of cutting it out to just these things and
Exactly.
working hard and stuff.
So if you are exposed to a lot of ideas, you will know what works for you. Like there was this very famous thing which started back in the day where people used to drop out of colleges because they somehow found out that Bill Gates and Zuckerberg, they dropped out of college.
Right.
I mean, and people started selling it as motivation, telling that, degrees don't matter, a piece of paper can't decide your life, without knowing the full facts. I mean, see, there are outliers in everything. Okay. But you need to know why certain people were outliers, and are you really destined for greatness if you leave your college? Like in this case, let's say all you do is waste your time and you think that dropping out of college will suddenly make you successful, rich, then you are in a fool's paradise. So Bill Gates had dropped out of college because A, he was a genius, B, he already had
something going on
which was much bigger than his college degree.
I mean, I feel that Mark Zuckerberg, Bill Gates and all the people who dropped out didn't drop out because they thought this is useless. They left because their company got too big and they became busy.
Exactly.
They didn't have the time to sit for the lectures.
Exactly.
That's why they left. People think dropping out and then starting the business is necessary.
Yeah, so if you have something going on that is destined to be much bigger than what you are currently doing, it makes sense to pursue the...
But how will one know if it's destined to be something?
No, I mean, they enjoyed it as well, right? They enjoyed working on it and they were learning.
If it's structured and you enjoy and you're enjoying it.
You are gaining something out of it.
You're committed to it.
Yeah, see, if your reason for dropping out is because you don't understand the course, you are not doing anything else on the side, and you just drop out and try to justify it by giving examples of Bill Gates and Zuckerberg, is stupidity.
Yeah.
Right? So if you have something going on for you, see, everything in life is a gamble. So it's possible that Microsoft wouldn't have worked out. But while I'm 100% sure that while working on Microsoft, Bill Gates was learning. He was learning programming, business,
I mean,
marketing.
anyone would have, even if Microsoft didn't work out, someone would have acquired it.
Exactly.
And then he would have gotten a job.
He had the skills. He could have gained any job with the skills that he had. Because at the end of the day, it's important to have skills. If you are learning something, you are excelling in something, then it doesn't matter whether you're in a college, out of college. But people should also know the pitfalls or the gray areas or the fact that it just might not work for you. So giving them an entire picture and then letting them decide is a more responsible way. I would urge these content creators to be that way and make the content tailor their content accordingly.
So, and what would you say to the audience that watches these kind of videos?
Try to watch other kind of content as well. I mean, see, people like these stories where the underdog or someone does something exceptional when he was not supposed to be that way.
Right.
Because it's motivating and they see themselves as that person. But people need to understand that there are exceptions to every rule. Try not to be influenced only by the exception or just look at the exception. Try to understand that society is the way it is because of certain reasons. Not everyone can be an exception. Not everyone can be successful by dropping out. Not everyone can change their life with one motivational video. It takes a lot of hard work, discipline and persistence to build something that is tangible, build something that has a legacy. So just watching motivational videos and feeling good about yourself is just a like it's just a hit.
Right.
It's just a dopamine hit. Watching that motivational video and
Yeah, I
getting
mean,
a
you'll work
dopamine
hard
hit.
for 2 hours and then go back to
Exactly.
the.
You can't run a marathon by running very fast. You need to
It should be gradual.
paced. You
Yeah.
need to pace your run.
Be balanced.
Exactly, and life is not a 100-meter race. So if you think that a set of motivational videos will completely alter your life, you are sadly mistaken. So don't try to just consume motivational content and feel good about yourself, imagining yourself 5 to 10 years down the line. Because doing something great and achieving something takes hard work and persistence.
And people look at it directly 5 years later. They need to consider
Exactly.
the 365 into 5, whatever it is, that number of days, and count each one instead of just skipping to the
Exactly.
last day.
So there are these training montages in sports biopics and sports films where the athlete trains for a minute, 5 minutes, and his life
I mean, that
alters
has-
altogether. But that 5-minute montage actually took that real person around 5, 10, 15 years of
Yeah.
training, and that's not very glamorous.
And they don't show it. If you see,
they can't show it.
it's a no. I mean, the 75% of the
Achha,
movie
they
is
don't
focused
talk
on the-
about it.
It's focused on the dialogue and then the montage.
Montage.
It's just 1 minute long.
Exactly.
And actually, as you said, it's 15 years long. They show the child. I remember in one of the movies, he's running as a child, and then slowly they rotate the camera and he turns into an adult.
See, that's glamorous.
Exactly. So
That montage is glamorous because you feel that it's easy, right? It won't take much time. Because hard work, patience, and doing the grunt daily is not very glamorous. Like if you if you watch that sports person in real life, his life would bore you because he does every day the same thing. He'll wake up, have the same diet, go to the same gym or whatever it is, do his activities. It's boring.
absolutely.
But building something great is in fact boring for an outsider, because if you observe that particular person, he's doing the same thing for a very long period of
I
time.
mean, the biopics make it fancy.
Yeah. So if you sell this idea in a way that says that it's easy and hard work, and use some random motivating words, and you tell your audience that it's very simple by just filling them up like a gas balloon, it's not a good way of engaging with
I mean,
your
it's just
audience.
gonna fly high, pop,
Yeah.
and go down.
So these motivational speakers should also talk about how dull it is in reality, because it takes a lot of time, lot of patience, and every day persisting to that activity of yours, whatever it is, whether it's business, whether it's your job, whether it's sports, exercise,
You have
anything
seen
else.
those, seen the podcast of Sunil Chhetri and Virat Kohli, the top Indian sports player personalities. Both of them have shared their story with each other on a Instagram live, and it was so different from what the movies show. I mean, people look at it as if they enjoy their life throughout, but it's not that way.
No, it's not. I mean, see, to become great, you have to do a lot of sacrifice, and it will, training like Sunil Chhetri for a day would seem very fantastic, but he does it
Every
all
day.
around the year. He does it consistently for so many years. He has done it. That's why he is Sunil Chhetri or he is Virat Kohli, because they have trained for 10 years, and that's not very glamorous. So people need to talk about these things as well, where success will take time. It's not just believing in the dreams and this and that. There are a lot of real aspects to it as well, like sacrificing your favorite food, or sacrificing time that you spend watching videos, and actually doing a lot of focused work, whether it's in the gym or on a computer or wherever it is. So yeah, that's what people should also talk about.
And what I want to come to is how to start. Now that you've said it, the motivational journey, it's not just about listening to all these motivational bits and going crazy about it like a caffeine drop. It's not like that. So how do you start? You have started your content creation journey. I know you've tried to work here and there. You've expanded.
Correct.
So how do you start doing that?
So
If it's not about watching motivational videos, and what is it about?
see, you need to, like, if you are starting out with anything, let's say you are writing videos or you're writing a book or probably you want to start working out. So I feel that there is one book that I'd recommend for this. It's Atomic Habits by James Clear. I think he explains the process really well. But what I feel is you need to build discipline to start anything. And what I feel is you should start small. Unless you really enjoy that activity, like you're so intensely passionate about it. Let's say you're intensely passionate about badminton, just as an example, and you love playing badminton for 5 hours, 6 hours. You don't care about what else happens during the day. Go for it, just start. But for most people, starting out something is difficult because there is resistance. Like Newton's law says that, right? If a body is in inertia, it needs some external force to move. So start slow, start small. Like let's say you want to build a reading habit. You don't need to read one book in a day because that's too daunting. Read a paragraph, read a page. Slowly you will start liking it. Probably, let's say you want to build the habit of reading a book. Start with something that you already like. Let's say you love fantasy books like Harry Potter, or you love those. Read that. Read a page, read 2 pages. Eventually you'll start developing interest in it, and you would want to read 5 pages, 10 pages. Eventually you'll finish 1 chapter a day. Same goes with, say, you're starting out on a business. Don't try to, let's say you're building a product. Let's say you are making a phone. Don't think of making the entire phone on day 1. Start with something small. Maybe try to flesh out how your phone will look like, what kind of features will it have, or let's say you're building an app. You don't want to think that I'll build this app in a day. No, you don't have to. Start small.
Start with 1 step.
Yeah. See, the idea is to build your identity as that kind of a person. Like, let's say you want to become an entrepreneur. You need to build habits that make you an entrepreneur. So it's about persistence and discipline. Like every day, if you are doing something that takes you closer to your goal, eventually you will pick up pace, eventually you will learn a lot of things, and that journey will get smoother, or at least you will be more competent.
Right.
So just try to be disciplined. Like it's not a 5, 10, 15 day program.
It's not a competition. They try to compete with their...
That is
the competition comes after you've become something big.
I mean,
people consider, I know friends with a few clothing brands and different brands. They start competing with jaywalking. I have to reach jaywalking level. It's not like that.
Yeah,
you have to first make your mark and then grow, reach the jaywalking level.
If it drives you, like some people, like you just mentioned Virat Kohli. Virat Kohli is driven by adversity and competition. He loves that. He thrives in that. If that's something that works for you, go ahead. But if it's intimidating you, like you want to become, like let's say you are starting a shoe brand and you want to become like Nike, and that thought intimidates you, then it's something that's not working for you. So abandon that idea. Just try to take 1 step at a time, build something small. Eventually it will grow, and maybe if it's destined, you might have your own Nike.
I mean, when Nike started, I read the book Shoe Dog. Phil Knight just sold it first he showed it to his coach. He later sold it to a few friends of his or a few players. Then he realized this is working good. Slowly he expanded 1 store, 2 stores, and then that has now become a legacy, and company still stands strong.
Exactly. And most important thing is to enjoy the process. Like if you are not enjoying it,
if it's just for the money and the fame.
I mean, see, these external motivations will eventually die out. like what happens is, if you're driven by something that's not something that you actually want, but it's just an idea that you picked up from somewhere, when things get difficult, you might not be able to survive the heat.
We talked about all these mindsets. And have all these come to you from the books and movies that you've watched?
So it's partly because of them and partly because of experience. So like you can read books, movies, get ideas from them, but to develop it into a mindset, you need to practice those set of ideas or do those activities, and your experience might then tell you something different about it. So you then get insights into whether you need to accept that activity, reject it, whether it's working for you. So I guess it's about consuming and then acting on it. Once you do the act, like you act on those ideas or whatever it is that you want to cultivate,
right.
Then you gain insight and then you decide whether it's
I think that's where most of the people fail.
Exactly.
They just read the book and it's there.
And leave it. But acting on the advice given is more important, I feel.
So how much have these impacted your career, your life, and everything related to
quite a lot. So,
and how have they?
So see, when you read or when you watch a good film or you consume something that's interesting and provides a lot of knowledge, you get a new perspective. Like for example, when I read Atomic Habits, I understood the importance of putting in daily effort, however small it is. So that is one insight that helped me understand the importance of hard work and the importance of doing something regularly, daily, rather than just putting in a few days of hard work and then expecting things to magically change. So that is one learning that I got from that book. Then there is a beautiful book that I had read. It's called Mindfulness in Plain English.
Mm-hmm.
So that taught me about focusing on the moment, about different spiritual practices. I won't delve into it, but one insight that I got from that book is how it's very important to stay in the moment and do what you're doing with attentively do what you're doing with focus. Then through fiction, I have learned different things about people. Like,
so people skills might have developed.
In a way, yes, but you understand like why people are jealous, why are they happy, why are they sad, what
the reason behind every emotion.
Exactly.
You get through examples instead of scientific.
It may not be 100% true, but it's an interesting perspective. So let's say you learn, like let's say you explore an emotion in a book, you can then try to apply it in your own life. Maybe you read a book where the character is too greedy and he has a lust for money, power, and you realize, oh, it's not a great way of conducting oneself because it's very futile.
So you learn how to not get into it, at the same time deal with such kind of people.
Exactly. So you can either learn something that you can aspire towards or something that you should turn away from. Like the example that I gave, you'd see that the character eventually loses something or realizes that his emotions are not the best way of conducting himself. So that's a lesson that you gain. Maybe not through explicit advice, but just observing that character's arc can give you something that you can take, like an insight or something that you can do, something that you shouldn't do. Like for example, if you watch a movie that's like Rocky, you can understand the importance of hard work, putting in efforts. I mean, not get motivated, but try to look deeper. The journey. Like how it's important to make sacrifices, to do regular work. So you can gain all these things even from fiction. So that's one thing that I've learned. So if I have to sum it up, I'd say always keep learning from people is something that I've gained from books. People and their experiences, their ideas, their knowledge. Everything can teach you that.
So what books would you recommend? Non-fiction and fiction?
Oh, okay.
Because by the way, I forgot to mention, he has read over 250 books. So that's an amazing set. So I would like to know, what are the books that you think I'm sure each one taught you something different.
Okay.
So what are some books that you recommend? I know Atomic Habits is one of your key
Definitely.
favorite books.
Definitely.
So
in non-fiction, I would say you can read Atomic Habits. You can read some autobiographies. Like I read Shoe Dog. I read Elon Musk's. I think Shoe Dog is a autobiography, and Elon Musk's is a memoir.
yeah.
So definitely, I loved those books. Then I've read 0 to 1. That's a really nice book. Then I would say I've read Monk Who Sold His Ferrari. I really liked that book as well. Though you may not agree with everything that's said in a book. Like there might be instances where you disagree, but I feel it's important to keep an open mind and take what you feel will work for you.
My favorite author, Austin Kleon, writes this in every book of his. Keep what you learn or like, leave the rest behind. So from a book, keep what you like and leave the rest.
Then currently I'm reading Almanac of Naval Ravikant. So that's one book that I am finding very interesting. Then in non-fiction there is I forgot the name of the book. I think it's called The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle.
Okay.
Maybe I'm mispronouncing the name.
We'll put up a picture.
And then there is The Alchemist.
Uh-huh.
The Alchemist.
Yeah.
Paulo Coelho. The Alchemist. It's one book that I really love.
Big hit, yeah.
I didn't agree with certain portions there, or I didn't find them very useful for myself. But overall, I feel that there is a lot to learn.
Yeah, definitely. Even when I was reading the book, I didn't understand what's the story until I reached the ending. So
correct. Then you can read what else? There are so
I'm sure there are a lot after reading such an amount. What would you recommend in movies? Movies that changed your life. I mean, there are no movies that changed your life, but something that gave you a hit or a boost.
There is one movie, it's called The Man from Earth. I have made a video about it as well. So most of the recommendations you can get from my channel, but that is one movie that made me think a lot. Like it stayed with me after I watched it. I watched it on my computer.
Okay.
Of course, then as a kid, Three Idiots was one movie that stayed with me. Like I remember watching it 7 times in a theater.
Okay, 7.
Yeah. I went for that movie 7 times, and every time I had the same reaction. I was still in awe of that film. I don't know whether
Still are in awe of that film. That was my
yeah,
first film.
absolutely. That was one. Then life altering, these two definitely. Tare Zameen Par was one movie. It didn't drastically change my life or alter it.
The way you looked at people.
It was just something very unexpected. Then, I mean, there are movies that I love, but life altering probably not. There is one movie, it's Anurag Kashyap's film, it's called No Smoking. It didn't alter my life, but after watching that movie, I realized that nobody else has seen it.
You also mentioned before that you started this channel because you wanted to understand what people like and you compare it with yourself so you can understand two perspectives. And you just talked about it, no smoking. So no smoking, you said not many people. So what's that thought? Ki learn people's understanding about movies through your content. I really like that thought.
So it's like this. What I'm sharing on my channel is also my opinion. I am not a god, or I am not sending truth bombs or absolute truths. Whatever I am saying is also my opinion based on the information that I have. So someone else might have a different opinion. Probably that person's opinion makes more sense than mine, or is better, or is more structured, has more information or more value. So through my channel, I can also, like, I do get feedback
Right.
via comments or via messages. So that also helps me understand what people are watching, why are they watching those movies, what are their reasons for liking. Like, I don't like certain movie genres. Like, I have tendencies to watch certain genres more than certain other genres. That is a preference or proclivity
Right.
that
And
I
people
have.
might have something different.
Yes, but a larger set of people might have different
Exactly.
different preferences. So I would like to understand, why is that so? Like, why do people watch a certain set of movies and not a certain set of movies across geographies, across regions? Different people have different ideas about what they want to watch, what they like, what they dislike. So it's an interesting idea to understand that via my page as well, based on the feedback that I get.
You also made a statement that stayed with me, and I really loved the statement. People might misinterpret you as a book reviews or movie reviews channel, but you said you are not a person who reviews, you are a person who recommends.
See, what I believe is, to review a film, like, film review is not telling your opinion about the film. Anybody can do that, and there are a lot of YouTube channels, that have started doing that. They share their opinion under the guise of review. That is not a review. Review is done by someone who understands the film form, or who understands literature, who has studied the subject. Because film is not just a audio-visual presentation. There is a science that goes behind it. There is a reason why like, the way a camera is placed, the way a sound setup is done, the way background score is integrated, the way dialogues are written, the way a screenplay is written. I'm sure most of these people wouldn't know the difference between a script and a screenplay. I am not trying to demean them,
But they're misleading. In a
yeah,
way.
but it's not a review then, right? You are just passing off your opinion as a review. Review is a structured analysis of that film, and even I don't understand that. I have not studied it. I watch movies as a viewer, and I have learnt a few things here and there which I try to integrate while watching the film and try to evaluate a movie objectively. But even then, what I am doing is telling someone to watch something because I liked it.
Absolutely.
So it's not a review.
Right.
I don't review films because I can't, or I don't have enough requisite knowledge
Right.
to review a film or to review a book. I can share my opinion. That is why I say that I'm recommending films, recommending books. I'm not reviewing them. Maybe when I gain the essential knowledge or understand film form, like the details of film making, probably then I could review a film. So I think, yeah, job of reviewing a film is with a critique, who critically analyzes the film and gives a very logical, a very objective analysis of the film, rather than passing off his or her opinion as a critical analysis piece.
And give us a quote that stayed with you.
Oh, I don't.
Because a simple quote sometimes changes your thought process. So that is what I would like to know from you. What is one quote that you remember that stays with you?
Just do it. I am like, there might be many quotes at the top of my head. I can't recollect any. There are a few, but just do it. Just do it, man. Just go and do it. Don't think too much. Just enjoy. You know, it's important to not take yourself too seriously also at times. I mean, we do think that we have learned this. Like, the more you learn, you realize that the more you don't know.
Exactly.
So that should give you the confidence that just do something.
And
Just try
people
it out.
also stop themselves from because of people's opinion, what people may think of them.
I mean,
So how do you handle with that now that you have published yourself online? How do you handle with with people's opinion? I'm sure you, with the likes you get, there's always something or the other that is negative in a way.
so see, if there is a negative comment and the comment has something that I can take and learn, or maybe a feedback, even if it has harsh words, and there is something that I can take from it, like an objective feedback but written in a harsh language, I would evaluate it. If it makes sense to me, I can take some useful information, learn from it, make changes, and that's useful for me. If it's just a hate comment, like just someone venting out frustration, anger, I mean, I try to ignore it. Earlier it would make me feel bad or sad.
Right.
Now it's like I don't want to give someone space in my head, especially someone who's just venting out his frustration in my comment section. I mean,
Right.
you don't deserve to be here, so I just ignore it.
So
I mean,
flush it out.
Yeah,
Keep
just
what's important.
yeah, just read it. I mean, if it makes sense to you, accept it, take it, look at it objectively. If it's just hate and trolling, ignore it. I mean, what else can you do? You don't want to give them headspace because that makes them win. Best thing is to ignore them, let them do what they are. Probably that makes them happy. Let them have their fun. You just ignore it.
So just do it. That's your line.
Yeah, just do it.
That I would like to end on this note. So we're waiting for a book from you and a movie from you. After having so many, after having read so many books and watched so many movies, we would love to have a book and a movie from you. We're waiting for that. Hope that
Someday,
comes soon.
definitely. Someday, definitely. Yes.
So thank you.
Thank
you
you.
for joining us.
Yes. It was a pleasure being here.
Thank you.